Hey yogi friends, Kit Kat here, and welcome to a most important workshop, Create Your Sustainable Practice workshop. This is where you go, oh my Lord, she's going to make me do things by myself. And yes, indeedy doody I am. I'm just adjusting my microphone there. But this is a really important workshop, and I want you to know that you absolutely 100% have the ability to create your own sustainable practice. So we've moved through some fun in our pajama flow. We've looked at a keep it simple flow. We have done an anytime flow, and we've done a yin practice. And if you've jumped on my YouTube channel or if you've been in the Facebook group, there are loads of other practices in there too that will guide you through. But sometimes we don't always have, or we don't even feel like listening to somebody else guide us through practice. Sometimes we just want to tune into what's happening here and find out what that means for us on any given day. And remembering too that there's no hard set rule that says you need to be on your rubber rectangle for an hour or you need to sit in meditation for 45 minutes. These are just social norms so that we can kind of remember to do things, or so that we feel like we're getting perceived value for money. So say, for example, if you go to a yoga class and you get charged X amount of dollars, say $20 to attend that class, and you go, it only went for 45 minutes or it only went for 35 minutes, that should be an hour because I know that if I go to aerobics, I go for an hour. Or we go, I'm going to allocate that time, and I'm not quite sure where that came from. Or even in the Ashtanga practice, you know, that's roughly a 75 to 90 minute practice. That's a long time. But I guess back when that practice was first instigated or created, people probably didn't have the same kind of jobs that we have today. So we didn't have the same busyness in their lives that we have today. And so there was a little bit more time and space. So understanding that we need to create something that is going to be sustainable for us. And this is the purpose of this workshop, is to look at what is going to be sustainable for us and how do I go about creating that just for me. And of course, we're all very, very different human beings with different physical capabilities and possibly some restrictions up here that may or may not have inhabited our physical bodies as well. And all of these things come into play on any given day. So this is why creating a sustainable practice and creating your own practice and learning how to tune into your intuition and what you need on any given day is super duper important when you're looking at a life in yoga. It's your life and it's your yoga. You're finding balance just for your unique experience and expression in this world. And that's why this is such an important lesson. Are there rules? No. No. Are there guidelines? I'm going to give you some of those right now. So without further ado, let's tap into this workshop. Get your pens and paper ready. Maybe even have your ebook at hand or a notebook. So right now you're probably saying, holy crap, holy crap, holy crap, 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 I have to make up my own flow. And yes, you will, but it's not going to be like a test. But if you want to share something with me after this workshop, you certainly can. So you're probably asking, what do I do and what happens if I get it wrong? Well, there's no penalty system. Nothing happens if you get it wrong. So chuck that out the window right now. Perfectly Imperfect Yogis was born because we are all perfect. And our imperfections are those things that make us unique and make us like, what is perfect anyway? What is perfect? Who defines perfection? Like somehow the programming and the patterning and, you know, our digital landscape, and before that it was, you know, periodicals, magazines, Who Weekly, Cosmopolitan, Clio, you know, when we were kids, like going, oh my God, that dress is so beautiful, that girl looks so beautiful, I want to be just like her because the magazine told me that's what beauty is. Close that book. That might have been a little bit loud. Sauce. Close that book. Write your own book. This is your life and your story. Took me ages to let go of that shit. I loved magazines. I was never going to be that girl in the magazine. I had to be me, which is why I probably just clapped in your face. Anyway, here we are. So trust me on this one. You are going to amaze yourself with how much creativity you have within you and how much like you've absorbed over the past 4 days and what you're going to be able to create on your own. You will also amaze yourself with how much innate wisdom that you have. So this is like tapping into your intuition and your inner creativity to find your journey and your expression of what is yoga asana and yoga or balance in your life as well. This has serious monumental benefits if you're practicing at home and you don't have access to collective practice, or perhaps, oh, my incense has fallen out, or perhaps you can't get to class or participate in an online class. So this means once you start to create your own sustainable practice, you'll be able to drop into that anytime, any place, anywhere in the world, and tune into what it is that you physically need and go down that amazing path all on your own. This strengthens your connection to what I call your internal guru. And your guru will, or your internal guru, your innate wisdom, will start whisperings from your heart straight into your physical body that will manifest as expressions of creativity through your yoga vinyasa. Now that sounds all very unicorns and sparkles and fairy floss, but it's actually true. You know, sometimes I step on the rubber rectangle and I think, oh, I'm going to do this, that, and the other. And then my body just goes, I'm going over here. If you'd like to come with me, that would be awesome. And all of a sudden I'm going on a different journey that I never knew that I was going to do. And then all of a sudden I've got one arm stretched out to the side and I'm balancing on my head and I don't even know how I got there. That's the kind of stuff that happens when you tune into that inner guru. So remember, things like that are going to help you here as you move through this practice are like, okay, I remember when we did triangle pose last week. Let's play around with that. What happens if I take my arm up here, or if I extend my arm out to the side? What happens if I want to lift my hand up off the floor? What changes in that dynamic? And in triangle pose, if you want to lift the arm up off the floor, you're going to have to engage more into the core, draw the belly into the spine and lift. So you're going to find length through the back body, and that dynamic is going to change. Now, I can tell you all these things, but it's not until you somewhere in your physical experience of the asana want to go on that exploration. And so what I'm offering you is guidance through that, so that I encourage you to find some of those challenges and explore those things as you move through your practice. Over time, you're going to learn to ignore the doubts, the criticisms, the distractions of the mind, sausages, watermelon, you know the deal. And you'll just get to connect in with that inner guru and those whisperings of the heart. And this takes practice, so it's not something that it's just going to magically happen overnight. Although if you've been practicing for a while and you find that courage, put your favorite music on and step into that space where you feel a little bit inspired. It doesn't matter what that music is, because this is your yoga and it's your practice. Step into that space, feel a little bit inspired and move through. And as soon as you find a little bit of courage there, you'll be amazed at what you start exploring. And this will, like building your home yoga practice, will greatly enhance, and you'll continue to find that shift and that exploration just for you. As you get started, remember that you don't have to remember every single different posture in the asana arsenal. Asana are infinite because bodies are infinite and spirits and creativity are infinite. So everyone's just going to be doing something different. So don't worry if there's a science to this, but it's not an exact science because everyone's physical needs are different. Your body will talk to you, so you just need to tune into that and listen. Things that teachers have said to you through collective practice are going to magically pop into your head as something that you physically do triggers that response for you. And you go, oh, I remember Kit Kat said, breathe in through the nose, out through the nose, and all of a sudden you'll settle into that space and find yourself going a little deeper into that journey. So the brain is amazing in this way. you don't have to remember, you just have to kind of like tune into the principles of the practice, but not remember every single infinite detail. As you start to deepen your practice and you continuously come back into this space, the brain will automatically start filing the systems and the synapses that take you through your flow. And sometimes you won't even remember what you've done, except that you'll be sweating at the end of it and you'll go, oh, how did I get here? And then you'll go, oh, thinking back, yeah, I did 60 sun salutations and that was really hard work. Yeah, but I was meditating through that practice. So let's look at the principles of a home yoga practice or creating your sustainable practice, your practice just for you. So number one is to let go of any expectations of what practice should look like. So those sort of things might be, it has to be an hour. I have to do 15 sun salutations. If I don't do perfect tree pose, it's not going to be exactly what it needs to be. So it's kind of letting go of the dogma around what a yoga asana practice would look like. So if you're an Ashtangi doing Ashtanga yoga, you just stick in that channel or in that lane. Or if you're doing Bikrams, you're just in the Bikram lane. Or if you're doing power yoga, you just stay in the power yoga lane. I don't have that belief. I believe that yoga is around flexibility, and that flexibility isn't much around the physical flexibility, it is around mental flexibility. And what happens is, as you've learnt that flexibility rolls off the yoga mat and into real life. So this is a super important lesson. I remember when I did my first teacher training and I came out of that training and I would go to another class and go, that's not yoga. She's not doing that right. That's not, definitely not listening to that. She's not doing that right. So judgmental and so dogmatic, like around what I'd learned, that I thought, this was yoga and that was yoga. That was a long time ago. So I've learned to let go of that dogma, check in with what it is that I need, and then move with that and that connection of body, mind, and breath, and knowing that I'm connected to my creative wisdom inside of my inner guru. I know that that journey's not wrong, it's right for me. Now that doesn't mean that I don't seek the guidance of experienced teachers and that I don't engage in conversations where I'm continuously learning and evolving and listening to ideas and thoughts and thought leaders and discussions around better practice or, physical alignment or, skeletal challenges or differences or different schools of thought around different things. That's super important, but being open to new ideas as well. And so just not getting my yoga is in a box and I'm not stepping outside of that box. I feel like Marcel Marceau doing some mime right now. I'm trapped in a box, a yoga box. Moving on to point 2, shall we? Begin simply with the intention of getting on your mat for 5 minutes to see what happens. So the easiest way to I don't feel like it, I don't have the confidence, is to literally come. I'm sitting on the rubber rectangle right here. I have this blue one that I use in my shala. It's not my personal mat. And I'm just sitting on it. So just come like an invitation, have the mat rolled out next to your bed or in the kitchen. So you're going to walk on it. And just spend 5 minutes on the yoga mat, see what happens, see if the body wants to move a little bit in this direction and that direction, and see what unfolds. It's just an idea. Point number 3 is to pay attention to your breath. So we've spent a lot of time here talking about the importance of breath and connecting in with the breath, learning breathing techniques that reduce our anxiety and stress. Learning breathing techniques that elevate us and energize us. Learning breathing techniques that balance us out and enable us to find that calm, considered space in which we want to exist all the time. So seeing your breath as a teacher, am I in that calm space? When you sit on your mat, connect into that and find that slow rhythmic breathing. That's going to stop all this happening up here. And maybe then that inner guru is going to shine through and take you on that journey. So it's a really easy connection to make. Sit on the rubber rectangle, breathe for 90 seconds, see what happens. Sit on the rubber rectangle for 5 minutes, breathe for 90 seconds, see what happens. Yeah. So point number 4, listen to your body and never go into anything that's too painful. So this brings us to a discussion about pain, really. What is pain? Is pain a learned response? Yes. Pain is in the brain. Yes. Pain comes into the physical body. Yes. The body or the brain says, oh my God, that's painful, because the brain's looking to protect you. It's looking to protect itself. So if it says, stop doing that, this is really painful, back out, because A, you don't want to injure yourself, and that's what the brain is stopping you from doing. It's stopping you from injuring yourself and putting itself in harm's way. What we need to do is go, hey, wait a minute, brain. I'm going to have a little chat with you right now. And you say to the brain, am I going to bleed out if I do this? Am I going to lose a leg? Am I going to cut off circulation, or am I going to, come undone as a result of this? The answer is probably no, but it's the brain just going, oh, I haven't done this for ages, this is really painful, I don't want to do it. So just learn the difference in your physical response to things. Is this absolutely 100%, no way, not going to do that, I will die if I do that? Then ask yourself if that's the truth. Number 2 is like, can I sit with this pain? Maybe if I connect in with my breath, letting go of what no longer serves me on the exhale, can I move through this edge and find my way a little bit deeper into this shape? So noting those two differences. Am I in dire straits? Is my leg going to fall off? Does my brain need protecting versus, yeah, if I breathe, I can stay here. So that's finding your edge and being on that edge. And that's probably where we want to sit, because it's when we find that edge, it's where we challenge ourselves and we make the most change. Yeah? And we're creating new patterns and new programming up here in the brain, and our mind is helping us create those new patterns. So alignment is simply alignment. So it's align. And alignment is different for everyone. So that's kind of important. If you can't remember a posture exactly, just check where you're at, do a quick scan, look in the mirror, take a video. Super helpful tools for seeing where you are at. Get somebody who is experienced to have a look. And of course, I'm always open to that. If you want to take a picture, show me a video of whatever it is that you want to check on your alignment, and I can maybe make some suggestions around that. Get a teacher or someone whose classes you really enjoy and whose knowledge and information you respect to check in on that shape for you. Most yoga teachers will always take a time out to help a student with their practice. And if they don't, maybe they're really busy, but that's okay too. Maybe make a time with them. Number 5, yoga doesn't really do too many weird angles. It can do, but it doesn't really do that too many weird angles. I guess fallen angel, which we haven't done in this practice, is pretty weird. But yeah, I know you probably laughed out loud when you heard that, but yeah, you're like going, well, crow's pretty weird. Yeah, I'm balancing on my hands. Handstand, that's not entirely normal, but we didn't do that. But honestly, yoga doesn't do too many weird shapes. If you're going like, I'm not sure what this is, maybe just back out of the shape. Perhaps watch a YouTube tutorial, message me. I can, again, look at some modifications, corrections for you. Hop onto YouTube, find a really experienced teacher there, maybe look at what they're doing in that shape. So if you just go into the search bar on YouTube, I've got workshops up there, I've got a plethora of different shapes broken down. You can go back to breathe, bend, sit into the bend section and look at the yoga asana video and just check in with that and see where your shape be at. So think mathematically, parallel, arms parallel to the floor, arms straight up over the shoulders. Are my arms out the front for balancing? Are my hands spread? Are they underneath my shoulders? Is this going to work for me? Oh, yes, it works. Ooh, yes. So the order of postures is simple. As teachers, we call this the arc of sequencing, ARC, and that means we take it from like a base level here, we warm our bodies up and we move through culminating in a peak pose or something that is going to probably exert the most energy, or where we've opened up particular muscle groups, stretching and strengthening, build our way towards that practice, and then we come back down the other side of that arc and come into our cool down. It's also called an art. art of sequencing. So there is an art form to this. And the arc goes like this, and the art is what we do to create the movement and the shapes around that arc. So there's two things there, the art of sequencing and the arc. So beginning with warm-up postures, for example, child's pose or sukhasana, connecting in with the breath, maybe some kapalabhati breathing to warm up the body if you're in a cold environment. And this transitions from the floor into kneeling, into standing postures, working through sun salutations, maybe some warrior 1, 2, 3, into some hip openers, Ardha Chandrasana, warrior 2, and moving into balancing postures, which, you know, even triangle pose as a balancing posture, because you're creating that massive star shape and you've got fingertips and feet reaching out in all different directions and all this natural human traction going on, heart's working really hard there to press or to take blood into all of those extremities. So don't underestimate the value of a peak posture. And it doesn't always have to be full standing splits or, you know, some crazy thing, you know, handstand press to star jump, ending up in full splits. It doesn't have to be that. It could just be as simple as holding triangle pose for 20 breaths. And I guarantee you're going to break a sweat. The heart's going to have worked hard, and you're going to have to work hard with the mind to stay grounded in that shape. Coming back down into the cool down, maybe practicing some floor postures, some stretching, or even headstand or a shoulder stand. And if you're not into shoulder stand just yet, working through Viparita Karani, because this beautiful shape, you might lose me here and you might just see my legs. Hello, Viparita Karani. Oh, can I do the rest of the workshop from lying down? Probably not. But yeah, this is a fantastic shape. And you get all the same benefits that you get in shoulder stand. So, you know, learning some of these shapes that are really going to be beautiful for you to practice and for you to make your way through. So then we can come to leg stretches, supine twists, and ending our practice with Shavasana. And if you remember in our Shavasana tutorial or lesson, I talked about the benefits of Shavasana and coming to that lying down space and finding that stillness in your practice, super duper important. However, there can be as much benefit in sitting in stillness in meditation as well. I like both. I like to come to Shavasana at the end of my practice and then move myself into meditation after that. And sometimes my Shavasana is longer than my meditation. Sometimes my meditation's longer than my Shavasana. If I can't sit in Shavasana for 10 minutes after I've done, you know, a 40-minute practice, then I find myself sitting in meditation, because I know that that calm centeredness and the vibration that I'm feeling in my body is really going to bring me into a beautiful meditation practice. So, you know, there's no hard and fast rule around what this is going to look like. And when teachers get really dogmatic and hammer home to you, you must do it this way, you must do it that way, that's their belief at the time, and we can only ever sit in the truth of what we know at the time. So whatever we've learned up until this point in time is our truth, and that's what we share. And as long as we remain open to learning new things, then our truth changes, and our beliefs change, and our opinions change. And then we learn to sit in a new truth, because we're continuously learning and evolving. Yeah, so important stuff. So remembering that possibilities are endless. The infinite possibilities of the universe. You can go anywhere with your practice. And, you know, I've seen teachers here that inspire me and just go on journeys of like super duper creativity. And I go, man, I never would have thought of that. And then I try that out. And then that doesn't work for me because that's their experience. And so that takes me on another creative journey. Endless possibilities, and you never know where that inspiration is going to come from. So just keep learning. Coming back to this internal guidance system, so your body knows what it needs to do next. And so like the evolution for me of baby half moon, which we did in our anytime flow, I love that. And the fact that you don't have to move from Pavangasana or gate pose directly into that, but you can work around into, and I'll just back it up and show you what I mean here. So we might come from tabletop to gate pose, and this is an automatic, easy ask to go into baby half moon. And then we can always come back into this variation of side plank, or I can find a little bit of balance here and bring the knee into the chest, and if I can hold that balance, step forward and come into Anjaneyasana, find a reach back and grab for that foot and come into another stretch. Allow myself to engage the core and come all the way back to my baby half moon, and maybe sweep it around via child's pose. Come into some breathing. Take a pause, go on the other side. Now, I just made that up right then and there. And because, when I was playing in that, I've played in gate pose and that for a long time. And I really enjoy that early in my practice side body stretch and that essence that I find through baby half moon and balancing. But some of those things were, that flow were coming into the breath work. I was like, I don't need to do somebody else's practice because I tuned into what creativity and those elements that were coming up for me and what I felt I needed today, and that might be different tomorrow and the next day. So it's just about tuning in and coming back to being led by practitioners and yoga teachers who really genuinely love their practice and sharing those elements of creativity with you and not locking yourself into that yoga box. So seeing what pops up and feeling what it is that you want to surrender to in this moment and honouring that moment for you. If your body wants to move in new and unexpected ways, go with the flow. So this is a really good example. I kind of did this with a client the other day. I did this solid gold movement. It was absolutely hilarious and we were laughing really hard, but we needed 2 yoga mats each, so it was pretty funny. Started out in pigeon pose and then I swept the leg around and we rolled over like it was 1982 and ended up on the other leg. So that was just a moment where creativity completely overtook all practicality, aka we rolled all the way off our yoga mats and then had to come all the way back again. So we were definitely laughing, thinking that, well, this is a 2 yoga mat activity, so between the pair of us we needed 4 yoga mats and extra space. But it was just a super fun moment to explore where I could take that pigeon pose, and beautifully enough or wonderfully enough, that client was open to go on a crazy exploration of solid gold dancing with me from pigeon pose on one side, rolling all the way over into pigeon pose on the other. So, that can be that moment when we go, that's not a real posture. What's she doing over there? Oh, it's not yoga. It is. Is my answer to that. It is yoga because it came from my heart and it stretched the piriformis and worked hip mobility and flexibility, and I had to connect my breath and my core into that movement to roll over to the other side. Is that not yoga? Does it have to be sun salutation A to be yoga? When is sun salutation A? Or when does a sun salutation become a vinyasa? It's all in. Everything is connected, breath and movement. In that breath and movement, that connection, we come to that space of meditation through our practice and it feels good. We find a little bit more joy and happiness. That, my friend, is the point of yoga. Yes. Think about what the very first yogis learned. And, say if there were 3 blokes sitting in a cave in the Himalayas, say there were 3 blokes, right? And they were all just sitting up there smoking the pipe, having a bit of a good time, occasionally having a chat, mostly just sitting around, shooting shit. And then one bloke got up and went, I'm bored, I'm going for a walk. Never came back. The other bloke went, oh, well, I might go and see what's on the other side of the mountain. He walked off in the other direction. Then the last bloke went, might go and find some friends. Went off in another direction. And they were all practicing yoga together, hanging out, doing some meditation. And then the next thing you know, they were all of those things that they'd invented and created and curated and practiced and taught together, all of a sudden they were on their own. So they're creating their own independent flows, their own independent fitness activities and exercises. So maybe one guy went to India and that's how yoga asana evolved in India. Maybe one guy went to China and that's Qigong as we know it today. Maybe the other guy went to Africa, started doing some dancing. Maybe another guy, maybe there were 4 blokes and we just didn't know it. The other guy went to Egypt and, and that was the evolution of Egyptian yoga. Or, it's fascinating, but, who's to say, like, how did they come up with these lineages or, these processes? Because, all of those different styles and all of the evolution of those particular practices, there's some really distinct similarities. The connection to breath, the slowing down, that finding that connection between body and breath and movement. So if you look at some Tai Chi or some Qigong, and finding those shapes, do we not find alignment in that space? Who's to say that ballet or dance in its earliest forms, as you find length and alignment, wasn't a form of yoga for some people as they breathe and connect and find their way into that meditation? Interesting questions, right? All very interesting questions. And so this is why, staying open to these ideas is super important. So I know I said it before, don't skip Shavasana. You're welcome. You can take some extra time in Shavasana. So yes, don't skip Shavasana. Give yourself an opportunity to really explore this part of your practice. So if you've done the runner from Shavasana before, try not to do the runner now. Try to stay in there. But if you really don't have time for Shavasana, then come and sit in meditation and just take a few minutes to just be in that space and take this break for you. Meditation is different to your asana practice, and I know we might be in a meditative state where we're breathing and flowing and working our bodies, but just finding that absolute stillness, letting go of the busyness in the mind and finding that personal peace, super and duper important. Number 10, enjoy yourself. Now, I know I spoke about this in the Anytime Flow. Yoga is meant to be fun, or, we're supposed to be here finding more joy and happiness. And if it's boring, repetitive, no fun, and you don't get any joy out of it, why the heck would you keep coming back? You bloody wouldn't. And that's a fact. You just wouldn't come back. So make your practice fun. Put on your favorite music. I try not to I don't put on podcasts because I find that really distracting because I need that, I need to pay attention to the detail in the podcast. But music is just such a beautiful way to, change how you're feeling in that moment, connecting breath and finding music. And maybe, you find a little bit of Saturday Night Fever in your asana. And you put that in your arsenal, and all of a sudden, this movement, and then you find your warrior 2, and then you find some stillness. It's all good. Music can be a really great thing for this, but what we want to do is find, a joyful exploration of the internal landscape of your body. We talked about this today too. Congratulating yourself for getting on your rubber rectangle, being your own cheer squad. Yay me! I am awesome. Ba, 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 ba. I am awesome. Da, 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 da. That actually just made me feel really good. Sometimes you just got to be your own cheer squad and bring your spirit fingers to practice. Give yourself a pat on the back when you finish. I am awesome. Yeah. And feel really good about it. You're giving yourself the greatest gift that you can. When you practice at home, you are not only doing something that's benefiting the mind, the body, the spirit, so your physical, mental, and spiritual well-being, but you're spending time with yourself. learning how to build this beautiful connection to the self, building your relationship with you, learning to understand how your body works, learning to connect in with your inner creative genius, your inner guru. So spending time with yourself in this space without all the distractions of Westfield Shopping Centre, of, you know, what's happening in the news, what's in the digital landscape, letting go of all of that stuff, because there's no amount of worrying, ruminating and stress that's going to change a god darn thing. So what you want to do is let go of all of that stuff, tune into your inner guru, your inner creative genius, and give yourself an adult timeout, spend time with you, connect into that space, and allow that connection to the self and that creative genius to bubble up so that you can find your own joy and happiness. Yeah. Comparison is the thief of happiness. It's said to be so. So we're coming to the end of this particular workshop, this, you know, create your sustainable practice workshop. And, you know, we've only been here kind of 35 minutes, but I feel like, you know, I could go on for hours and hours, but I don't think that you need that. I think that you need to get onto the rubber rectangle and give it a go. And, you know, if you need assistance with this, I'm always happy to connect with you and to, you know, to share ideas and, you know, see what will work. And I don't want you to be afraid of this practice. You know, this is about building courage and confidence. And that's something that when we were in that workshop the other day and we were doing crow pose, opening up the heart space and, you know, learning that, yes, I can do this. I have it in me. I have the capability to, you know, move into this more creative space and create something that's uniquely mine, this practice. You know, it doesn't have to be hard. You just have to get on there and give it a go. And eventually, as you keep coming back to the rubber rectangle, things will change and you will learn and grow and be able to create your own sustainable practice, whether it's 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 55 or 5 hours. That would be really long, just saying, really long. Probably don't do 5 hours. But whatever it might be, you can create this. Now, remember when I started out on my yoga journey, I wasn't a yoga teacher. I was just someone that showed up to class and, you know, went through all the regular asana, the standard run-of-the-mill warrior twos and sun salutations. And then as I began to build an awareness of the impact that this physical exercise or physical movement was having on my spiritual and mental well-being, I went on a journey of further exploration. And that's why you're here today, because you wanted to go on a journey to further explore how this practice or how these practices can impact your life and your being well, your well-being, the wellness of your personal physical being. And that's why you're here, because you want to know more, you want to learn more, you want to give yourself the opportunity to be the best you that you can be. So find that little bit of courage and connect into that creativity, and you are going to be awesome, my friends. So I am going to leave this workshop here with that thought. I'm so proud of you for being here, stepping up and learning to create your very own sustainable practice. If you need to write things down, write yourself a little program, but I want you to tune in and find out where the body's at and just move with that. Namaste, my yogi friends. Have an amazing day, and I will see you on the rubber rectangle.